The Super Speedway Podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Keselowski trying to keep the momentum up. He won the Southern 500 2 weeks ago. Last week he wins the Brickyard 400. And now he's going to be able to punch his ticket into round 2. Coming out of turn 4, Keselowski wins 3 in a row. He'll win in Vegas.
Welcome to episode 79 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Tuesday, September 18th, 2018. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, hopefully you're doing better than I am today. I've already screwed up twice.
We've had 2 cautions in the last 5 minutes here, so we can't even make it. We can't even make it to the first lap.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
It is fitting that we had a couple cautions before the start of the race, though, because there were plenty of cautions this weekend at the South Point Hotel and Casino 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and pretty much all throughout the weekend, but especially on Sunday for the Big Cup race. Brad Keselowski comes home and gets the win, 3 in a row for Brad Keselowski, when we weren't sure what was going on with him during the season, and now all of a sudden here he is, 3 in a row, and doing quite well in the points now. 500th win for Penske too. Pretty cool for them.
Yeah, 500th win for Penske. He's locked into the round of 12. He is feeling good.
Yeah,
looking good. Yeah.
I think Brad Keselowski might be one of the few people that's excited about Las Vegas Motor Speedway this year.
Yeah, he keeps winning all these races. I mean, I don't know how much more we can. This is the third time this year we've had to do this, where I don't know what to say anymore when these guys win 3 races in a row. Like, how much more gushing can we do?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week. He's peaking at the right point, and nothing better than going in the playoffs. And I mean, it's kind of like starting the year with the Daytona 500 win. You start the first race of the playoffs with a win. You now already don't have to worry about round 2. Yep. And you can start preparing for the third round, really, and start doing what you need to do to get into that third round. So
this run, I was thinking about this today a little bit. This run reminds me of Tony Stewart's 2011 run. Just unexpected dominance. Like, I know he's not killing anybody with his speed, and we've seen how many people have said that. Truex kind of threw him under the bus this week too.
Right.
But the team itself is just gained a ton of momentum, as like you said, they're peaking at the right time. It's kind of like that Tony Stewart run, or maybe a team that gets hot in the NHL playoffs. They get that hot goaltender, and all of a sudden they're making a run for the Stanley Cup. It seems like we've got some warning signs here that could be Brad Keselowski.
And that's what's cool about this current system that we have. That I still preferred the old system where we reset at the beginning of each round and all that. But I think this is the benefit you get from that, is that you reward the consistency throughout the year. You reward the consistency in the playoffs, but you have that opportunity for somebody to go on a run that just squeaks in. You have that opportunity for the 16th seed to win the championship, like you have in other sports. And I think that's the beauty of this whole deal.
Yes. Yeah. And Brad Keselowski, not to say he was a bottom seed, but he was a middle of the pack guy all year. We didn't expect him to, come out of nowhere and win these 3 races. It's awesome. I mean, I think it's as exciting as anything that can happen in this sport, is when you get a driver that gets hot like this.
Right.
And you can see they're riding the momentum. Like Paul Wolf, he's making all the right calls. Brad's doing a phenomenal job behind the wheel. It's just clicking for him right now, and it's awesome. I want to see how far they can take it. Can they do 4 in a row? I mean, they have no incentive to continue, pushing for wins right now. I mean, they're locked in, but they've got nothing else to lose either, so they can really go for it too.
Right. There was a lot of talk about the odds this weekend and how rare, or how small of a chance it was. I forget what they said in the telecast, but how almost impossible it is to win 3 in a row. And there they did it, So now, I'm historically the one that says no to the 3 and 4 in a rows. But I don't know.
Well, it's
he's going into Richmond. I haven't looked at his numbers, but I don't recall Brad being like a barn burner at Richmond.
He's not. He's decent. He's got one win there. I'm looking at it right now. 13.7 average finish. So not like a barn burner, or anything, but
Right.
decent. Decent. I think, every season, we have to break down every season as it is. And we've talked about it, and I'm tired of talking about the big three or, using the term big
Oh,
three.
man, that's the next thing I was going to ask you.
I know, but it's just, this season has set up. This is like a great moment for this season. We've been talking about these three guys, these three teams all year long. And it's, been since, early in the season when Kevin Harvick won 3 in a row and then Kyle Busch comes along and then Truex. But now we've got the big deuce.
Right.
How do you like that? I tried tweeting that this week and nobody cared for it. So I thought I'd give it a try here too.
Nice. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But
I know.
I don't know. People don't get behind the big deuce, though, James. I mean, I think there's too many negative connotations
Yeah, I know.
with that. So
I'm surprised you can hit the bleep button on me for that.
Yeah, I could still go in and edit it in afterwards.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's not exactly something that screams like positivity.
I know.
Okay, so let me rephrase my question because I have in here, is he solidly the fourth in the big three? So let's get rid of that. Is he an official title contender now? I mean, obviously all 16 are, but is he an official title contender?
Oh,
and
yeah.
better yet, is he a favorite at this point?
I think he's one of the, yeah, I think so. I think he's earned the right to be considered a favorite.
Okay. So does he outrank any of the three that we have been considering the big three? I mean, obviously he does right now because he's the only one with the win.
Well, yeah,
but
absolutely. Truex was really good at Vegas, and I don't want to slot him in past Truex just yet. I know we've talked a lot about that 78 car this year, with all the other troubles that they have going on right now.
well, Harvick wasn't bad at Vegas. He did only lead 14
I'm not
laps.
worried about Harvick. Still think Harvick's 1A. Kyle Busch has something weird going on.
Yeah.
They're
And
not.
he knows
as
it.
fast
He
as
knows
they
it.
were. Yeah. They're not as fast as they were, and all the Gibbs cars aren't really doing anything.
Right.
I still think it's Harvick, Busch, Truex, and Kez. I wouldn't. Kez is the hot hand right now.
Yeah.
But I would still, if my life was on the line, I'd go Harvick, first, obviously, and then the other two somewhere in between.
How big of a relief to have that win in the bank before we go to Charlotte?
Yeah. The same thing's going to happen when we head to Richmond too. Somebody's going to get a win there, and it could be Brad. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if it is somebody else, Kevin Harvick is a good example. Like, he's used his mulligan now,
Right.
and he still has a cushion. He's fine, but he can't have a trouble at Richmond and then go into that Roval.
Yeah.
He's got to be good. If he's good this week, he's fine. But yeah, that Roval's a big looming. It's like Talladega. I know Talladega's not an elimination race anymore, but that sucker's looming. And we've got two bullets in the gun that still need to be dodged.
Right.
Brad's got to be feeling good.
Yeah, I would say so. I would. Unlike him, there are several drivers not feeling quite as good after Las Vegas. It was a bad day to be a playoff driver, for one. I tried to note everybody who had trouble. I know there's more, so you can jump on here. But so we had Kevin Harvick crash, had the tire go down, takes Eric Jones with him. Bummer for them. Harvick gets 39th. Jones finishes dead last, 40th place. Jamie McMurray wrecks, takes Chase Elliott out. Elliott finishes 36th. Denny Hamlin spins, hits the grass, rips the front end off the car, finishes 32nd. Clint Boyer, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Alex Bowman all had crashes. Kyle Busch had a spin, spun through the grass, but managed to slow it down enough and keep the front end off the ground so it didn't dig in, and he recovered for a 7th place finish, which I'd say is a major victory for him considering what could have been. Yep. So did I miss any? Did I have everybody there that had trouble?
That pretty much covers it. I just don't know who I feel the worst for right now out of that group.
I don't know. I mean, let's look. It's down at the lower in the notes, but let's look at points real quick. To the good, you've got Eric Almirola plus 12, Austin Dillon plus 9, Clint Boyer plus 7, Alex Bowman plus 6. And then you've got Jimmy Johnson at -6, Chase Elliott -9, Eric Jones -19, and Denny Hamlin -20. Those 4 are out right now going into the second race out of 3 in the first round of the playoffs. And I think one of those is one. I can't remember. Did you had Jones going out in the first round too, didn't you?
I do have Jones out in the first round, and I was really worried about that because he looked really good in Vegas.
Right.
So.
I mean, Chase Elliott, he's one of my final 4. And
Yeah.
here
Well,
he might. I mean, again, it's one race and a lot can happen. But man, he's 9 points out right now.
looking at that list right there, who's the let's play the game first man out. Like, who's the first man out now if we're looking at this list?
I don't know. I don't think Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin are going to stay down there.
Well, that's the thing is, I think Jones is done. I think we can scratch him off.
I don't know that he's done yet, but I think this really hurts his chances to go on.
Yeah, he's in trouble. He's in big trouble.
Yeah, 19 points. I mean, he's a race, almost half a race down.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to make up, and he's. I mean, now, yeah. I mean, I guess he can't win. He can't win Talladega. Talladega's in the next round.
Yep.
So that won't help him. I mean, I think
it's going to have to be Richmond or, I mean, and the Roval, we just don't know. Like, we were talking about that before the podcast. We just don't know what to do with the Roval.
Right. Here's the deal with Jones. He either needs to get himself a win in these next 2, or he needs somebody else to struggle.
Yeah, and
both races. I mean, he needs somebody to really have a bad 2 races here.
And here's what I think will happen if I put my Nostradamus hat.
Uh-huh.
I think Johnson and Chase Elliott are okay. I don't think they're going to be in trouble because I believe Bowman and Dillon are going to come back. They're going to come back to him. Johnson after Richmond, he should leapfrog back into the good, and I think that for Chase Elliott too. Dillon, I don't know. Dillon figures out a way to move through these rounds. He's done it before.
Yeah.
I can't understand it for the life of me. I can't understand it. But if I had to say 2 guys are going to come back, it's those 2. And then I would worry about Denny Hamlin at Richmond, as good as he's been there, winning that race.
Yeah.
Even though he's had a rough year, he could still go out there and win that race.
Yeah. I have some predictions about Richmond, but remind me when we get to discussing Richmond. I don't want to jump ahead too much.
Yeah. No, I'm just looking at it as from the points perspective. That's kind of where, if I had to predict, that's where I would lean.
Right. I don't know. I don't see Jimmy doing enough to
Johnson was
recover.
running good at Vegas. We should point that out. He was having a good day.
Yeah, he was. And it's funny because it used to be like if Jimmy was in the top 10, top 15, you're like, yeah, he's going to come back. He's going to have a win in this thing. But now it's like you kind of forget that he's there because they just haven't been able to get that extra oomph to get over.
Yeah. A little snake bit.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what happened? like mile and a half races suck.
Hot.
They're terrible. The Las Vegas is not historically they ripped the track up and built a new one, and it still hasn't been that great. Was it the heat? Was it the pressure of the playoffs? I mean, we've had first round of the playoffs at Chicago before, and it's been terrible. So
right.
Can you blame the playoffs, or is it just that thing that we talked
been
about?
Good this year, man.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like we talked last week that everything it's been building. This pressure's been building since Chicagoland, and now we're into the playoffs. Is it that pressure building over? Is it a perfect storm of the weather too? I mean, what the heck happened?
I think it's a little bit of everything. Not to take the cop out answer, but we've seen when these tracks are really hot, they do slicken up still.
Right.
I think that was a big part of it, but I think the pressure too. Obviously the Chase Elliott, Jamie McMurray crash was just a fluke.
Right.
And you've seen Kevin Harvick. Obviously, they were pushing the limits of the tires.
Right.
I mean, that's a little pressure. Harvick's out there probably trying to knock that win, off the board. And unfortunately, Jones was collected in that. So that's a little bit of the playoff pressure right there, I think.
Yeah. So there are a lot of. I mean, we mentioned the heat. There's a lot of talk about it. It was really hot. I think they said like 101 or something like that.
Dry heat
temperature. Yeah. To start the race. Wasn't good for the fans. If you guys didn't get a chance to read Jeff Gluck's column, he said he went down with, I think, 80 to go down to the infield for the end of the race. And there were tons of people sitting under the stands that obviously aren't watching the race because they're trying to cool off. But is that what made the racing good? And so what is, Vegas has pushed, they've already petitioned NASCAR for a later start time next year. A lot of people were talking about we should be running this at night, but if we run it at night, do we lose this excitement that we had because of the heat? And was the heat the main factor? I don't know what the answer is. Should we care about whether the fans are comfortable or whether they can deal with it, or do we want the better racing and not really?
I mean, we want better. There's not enough fans that go to races. I mean, we want to see it on TV. You know what I mean?
Right.
We want the TV.
I mean, I don't mind now because if I go, I'm going to sit in the press box, so I'm in air conditioning. So no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
well,
right.
Sort of kidding. I mean, Chicago is pretty comfortable, but I mean, honestly, we've seen the two good mile-and-a-half races that we've seen this year have both been on incredibly hot days. Yeah. And so, we can't make it hot, but we can certainly schedule races so it is hot. And scheduling Chicago and 4th of July weekend and scheduling Las Vegas for the September is a pretty good way of doing that.
Have you ever been to an outdoor game where it's been that hot? I mean, not obviously 101 degrees is extreme, but
I was at a minor league baseball game a couple weeks ago that was pretty hot, but it wasn't 100 degrees. Honestly, it was like 80, and it just was direct sun and no wind. It is miserable.
I was at a Tigers game. This is about 5 years ago, and we had outfield seats, and the scoreboard read 105. And we didn't make it past the second inning. Yeah. And we were doing the same thing, and it's miserable for people who are there.
Well, and it's better at a ballpark too, because you don't generally have to go as far to get somewhere comfortable. I mean, there's more aisles. It's easier to get out of your seats.
I felt bad for those fans though, man. I did. Because I think we've all been there on a hot day and it's just miserable.
Well, I mean, you and I back in when Kurt Busch won at Michigan in the rain delay, it'd be cold and rainy, and then the rain would stop and the sun would come out, and it would just be awful. It was like you're sitting in a frying pan basically.
Yep.
And so, I mean, we've dealt with that, and that's awful. And if there's no breeze or anything like that, it's terrible. I'm honestly not familiar with the dry heat thing because I've never been in the desert when it's hot. I mean, I've been out to California, but it wasn't super hot when we were there, so I don't have that experience. But to me, heat is heat.
Yeah, heat is heat. It's hot. Yeah. When you're miserable, and you can't escape. I was miserable this weekend at an apple orchard with my family.
So you went that route. See, my wife wanted to go to an apple orchard this weekend too, and I said early September is not apple orchard time. I said 55, 60 degrees maybe, but not when it's 80 degrees. That's not apple orchard weather.
No, it was brutal. And there were annoying kids everywhere, and this is the life of a parent.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Anything else about Vegas that we need to talk about?
We've hit on who had trouble.
Let's talk a little bit about people who did well.
We've hit on the point standings. Yes, I mean, we talked about Kyle Busch. He survived. But maybe some shout outs to some guys who had some good runs.
Yeah, Daniel Suarez came home with an 8th place finish when he's got a bit of an uncertain future right now.
Yes, he does.
Paul Menard got a 10th place finish. That's always good for Paul Menard. How about Regan Smith?
Yeah, that's a good one.
The perpetual fill-in driver gets a 12th place finish in Casey Kane's car.
I really enjoyed Trevor Bayne having a really good run too after Kenseth did the week before, just because Trevor will not be stifled by Matt Kenseth.
Right.
Stick it up there. Landon Castle, that's a really good one, and JJ Yaley too.
Yeah, Corey LaJoie 16th, that's good for him too. Chris Buescher 15th.
Ross Chastain had a heck of a weekend.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, nice top 20 in the Cup race, and by the way, won the Xfinity race.
Yeah, I was happy to see that get done. It was kind of nice. I wish he had stuck it to Harvick a little bit, but
yeah. I think smashing the watermelon and taking the checkered flag took the cake for Ross Chastain. That's I don't know. Are we going to talk a little bit about? Can we talk a little bit about that win?
Yeah.
Just a second.
Yeah, go for it. I didn't put it in the notes, but go for it.
I just have a quick thought on that.
Yeah.
He's not getting paid.
Yeah.
And that infuriates me. I guess what do you think about that? Like, he's driving for free. Is that okay?
I mean, I know Kyle Busch did it back when he was running for Billy Ballew in the Truck Series. Of course, Kyle is in a very different position than Ross Chastain.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. James, I'm of the era where I'm just past the millennial era, like just on the edge of it, to where, for me, like when I was trying to get into journalism, I worked an internship for free, and I worked at a radio station for free and got a job at a radio station as a result. And so I don't know, I'm of the mindset that if you really want to prove your worth, sometimes it's best to work for free. Now, for the team to take advantage of that, on the other hand, that's a different story. I mean, that's a Chip Ganassi team. I mean, I would.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I would feel like they got the money to give him a little bit of prize money for winning the freaking race.
I'm really glad you brought that point up because I didn't think of that. And, you and I both came up in the journalism ranks. So I too have worked for free now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, this is professional sports.
Right. I guess in the end, we'll find out whether it was the right choice or not. He's got himself a win in the Xfinity Series. He's opened up a ton of eyes.
He's basically doing an internship.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
He really is. And I think it's going to benefit him in the long run. And I think he'll look back on it and say it was worth it. But I don't know. It's a dangerous precedent to set, I mean, at the same time, like, how much money is Ryan Preece taking in? He's spending money to take these rides,
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I just, that's probably its own off-season podcast, is the system itself.
Right.
I wish that these guys, I wish it was a fair tiered system.
I wish the whole thing was fair, because right now it's just not. And that I think is the biggest problem with our sport. And like you said, big off-season discussion. This is something we could talk about forever.
Oh yeah, we can go on and on and on about it. But
I don't think attendance is an issue. I don't think a lot of the stuff that people are talking about that are issues. I don't think the 40-car field or 30-car field or whatever you want to make it is an issue. I don't think any of that stuff is an issue. I think the issue is the revenue and where the split of the money is just not. It's not right now, and it needs to be fixed. And
the tracks are raking in millions and millions of dollars. Meanwhile, it's kind of like college football.
Yeah.
You got millions and millions of dollars going into these facilities, and the entertainment is performing at no charge.
Yep.
No charge.
And the drivers talked about that. Denny Hamlin brought it up last year. I remember we talked about it on the podcast about, drivers getting paid and what they're getting paid. And, I mean, these guys deserve, they're the ones putting their lives on the line. I mean, so do the pit crews, but are these guys getting their fair share of the pie? And, I mean, there's one playground right now, really. And so you're going to deal with what that playground has to offer.
Yeah. Again, it's very much like NCAA football. There's no other way to get to the NFL other than through the NCAA. It's basically the NFL using college football as its minor league system.
Right.
Without having to pay anything for it.
I don't.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I don't. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable that somebody's not getting paid. That's all. And there's worse things in the world, obviously. But still, I don't know, man. It's just not right.
I do want to draw attention one more time to Jeff Gluck's column this week. If you haven't checked it out, jeffgluck.com. He does a post-race column, basically the top 5 breaking things down from the previous race. And I've been a little critical of Jeff this season. I don't think so much on the podcast, but certainly off air and just he seems to have been a little bit down on NASCAR and a little bit negative. And he's been doing some of these other things. He's done the sprint cars, he's done the Indy cars and stuff like that. And his column this week is really a great realization by him of what NASCAR is to auto racing in general and how it fits into the whole hierarchy of everything. And I think he got a better understanding for it because of these other races he's gone to. And it's worth a read. I'm not going to read any excerpts out of it. Go check it out, jeffgluck.com. I was pretty impressed with his column this week. I was going to message you, James, and tell you that I really liked it. So
yeah, it's good. No, good shout out because I mean he does good work. He does. Absolutely.
Yes, he does. I mad respect for Jeff, which is why I've been a little critical of him, but I haven't done it on the air because I love what he's doing. I love the Patreon thing and the fact that he's going on his own. I think he's done a ton for our sport as far as getting the fans involved and being that mouthpiece for the fans. And no disrespect to Jeff whatsoever, but just it was cool to see that this week. Yep, so
absolutely,
there you go. Anything else?
Nope. I think that's it. I think we can close the book on round one
All right.
of the NASCAR Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs.
All right, a little holdover from last week. We're gonna bust through some news here. I think it's gonna go pretty quick because it's pretty much the same stuff as last week, but just different people. But I wanted to revisit the hashtag thing in the driver logos because I messed up last week on the podcast and said it was a NASCAR thing testing sponsorship and the value of those panels. It's not NASCAR; it's the RTA, the Race Team Alliance, that's doing it. And one of the ways to tell that, other than the fact that there's been a lot of talk on social media about it, not so much in the stories, is that Martin Truex Jr.'s team, Furniture Row, is not a member of the RTA, and thus they are not running the logo on his car, despite the fact that the image was put out there with all the Twitter stuff last week. They're running a cancer ribbon on the car in place of it. So they are not participating in the hashtag deal. So it's an RTA thing to check the value of that portion of the car, check the attention that portion of the car gets, looking at possible revenue ideas in the future. So there's
because the contingency sponsors are phasing out, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So basically the little stickers.
Yes.
Little Ray Bestis stickers and what's the other one? Moog.
Yeah.
All the other, all those little decals are actually going away.
Right.
Which I had forgotten about. I know I had read it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're phasing everything out as their contracts expire. So that space is going to be wide open.
Yep. So they're looking at things to do with it. So we'll see what happens. Yep. On to the news. Brian France pleaded not guilty to DWI. Probably not a whole lot to talk about there, but
I probably shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep quiet on it too because it's more of a legal thing, and we don't need to get involved in any of that stuff. But anyway,
we've had enough fun with Brian this year.
Yeah, so pleaded not guilty, and
I'm surprised he pleaded not guilty though. I will say that.
Yeah.
I wonder what the angle is as far as what he feels like he can, because I don't know.
I'll tell you, if you want to follow coverage of it, check out Bob Pockrass. He's
all over it.
The go-to for NASCAR legal news. So
he's the journalist.
Just about anything else. I mean, if you're not following Bob Pockrass, then you're not following NASCAR correctly.
You're not a fan. I'll say it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So there are two good shout-outs this week, Pockrass and Gluck. So.
Yeah.
Gene Haas said he is still looking for somebody to drive the 41 car. Quote on NBC.com or NBCSports.com. I don't remember what the particular site is, but anyway, it's NBC. He says, we haven't seen anybody who's intrigued us enough to say, okay, we're willing to sign you at the moment. We're kind of hoping there's an undertow where a driver or sponsor, maybe that combination that didn't exist a few weeks ago, maybe they come together and it's something we can look at. But at the moment, we don't have anything. He said in the article that as far as he knows, Kurt Busch is with Ganassi. He just hasn't signed, hasn't announced anything, but it sounds like he's either throwing it out there to tell Kurt that, hey, you better get your crap together and let us know, or that he's pretty certain that Kurt's gone and letting drivers know that the door's open here for Stuart Haas Racing. And he also said, which I found interesting, that it's more beneficial financially for them to run the car than not to. His quote is, we have Ford money per car, and the 41 car gets prize money, and prize money is based on previous years. It wouldn't be nearly as profitable not to run as it would be to run it in some shape or form. So the business side of things.
So much insight in that article. You and I were actually texting about it.
Yeah.
Earlier, well, it was probably late. I think it was during the race last week.
It might have been, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we were texting about it. I just found this whole thing fascinating.
Yeah, it's very interesting for sure. The link's in the show notes if you want to check out the whole article. There's a lot of good info in there.
Yeah, I think you and I had come to the conclusion, basically Gene Haas is saying, hey, we have one of the top 10 cars in the garage available if anybody wants to bring some sponsorship dollars.
Yep.
Which, I feel like that organization should be attacking the best talent. I don't know. Again, this goes back to the system being screwed up.
Right.
Like, why couldn't Stuart Haas Racing just say to go after Christopher Bell or whatever? They should be able to do something like that. I don't know.
The dynamic of this team, the 41 car, is interesting too because this is Gene Haas's car.
Yes, this is almost like a separate car.
It's under Stuart Haas, but this is Gene. Gene's the one who, he basically hired Kurt behind Tony's back, and so it's interesting. It's a really interesting dynamic. One thing that was also interesting that's mentioned in the article is that while he believes Cole Custer is a talent and marketable, he has not won enough in the Xfinity Series for them to consider moving him to Cup. So, yeah, that if that's not a hey Cole, step it up, man.
Well, and which is funny that Cole Custer's boss basically said that, because you and I have pretty much said the same thing about
Right.
Cole Custer. We've been wondering, like, where does Stewart-Haas stand with Cole Custer? We don't think he's ready.
No.
He hasn't proven to be ready, and Gene Haas came out and said the same thing. So now we know, yeah, Cole Custer's not moving up anytime soon.
No, you've got guys in that Xfinity Series like Christopher Bell, who's out there winning. You got Ryan Preece, who's doing amazing things. I mean, you got these guys out there.
God's sakes, just
Yeah,
another good example.
showing their ability, and Cole. I mean, nothing against Cole; he's a good driver, but he's just not in that same. He's not in that same conversation right now.
Let's play a quick game of fantasy NASCAR. Who would you pick if you could pick anybody to drive that car?
Are we considering like current contracts? Are we talking people that are? Are we talking like
Let's say reasonably available? Like Martin Truex Jr. is reasonably available. Kyle Busch is not.
okay?
For example, let's
Take Martin Truex Jr. off the table because I think that's too easy.
Yeah,
Because I'd go Martin Truex Jr. So
I think that would be a great fit.
let me do this instead. Let me change it up on you, even though I just asked you what we should do.
That's good.
Let's say lower series. We can't pick a Cup driver. We got to pick somebody from a lower series.
Okay, lower series. Yeah.
If Christopher Bell's available, it's Christopher Bell. But right now, I'd say he's Toyota and he's tied up. He's not happening.
He is tied up. It can't happen. Yeah.
Um,
That's who I would love to have.
yeah, I
fired.
tell you what, I'd put everything behind Christopher Bell. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I think I would look in. I got 3 that I would really, really consider, and probably 2 more so. And I'm talking Ross Chastain would be a good look.
Mm-hmm.
So would Ryan Preece would be a good look. And my third, like, not quite as excited about, but still think there's some potential there, John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any different ones for you, James?
He's run well. There's a couple of guys I like. Noah Gragson, he's just too far away.
Yeah.
But the guys you listed, I really like that Joe Hunter Nemechek as like
John Hunter Nemechek. Good try.
yes, gosh, no. His dad's Joe. James,
Yeah.
come on. Yes, John Hunter Nemechek. I like that one too as somebody who's out there. I just don't know if he's run enough Xfinity Series races either.
Yeah. If it was like 2 years from now, I'd say
Yeah.
Brett Moffitt.
Yeah, Brett
'Cause-
Moffitt's
'cause
another good one.
Brett
There's guys
Moffitt has
out there.
done amazing things in that underfunded truck.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's what gets me for John Hunter is that what he's done in an underfunded team.
Yeah, and
you
he's
know.
succeeded.
I mean that's what gives. I mean, honestly, if I look between right now Ross Chastain and Ryan Preece, if I say those are my top 2, I think I'm going Chastain.
Yeah.
I think he's proven that he can win in good equipment, and he can run really well in bad equipment. And that's something that Preece hasn't run necessarily really well in the bad equipment. So I don't see him. I mean, obviously he's won in the good stuff too, but he's won in the best stuff, and Chastain's won in the stuff that's really good, but not necessarily the best. So
one guy that doesn't qualify, but should be mentioned is Matt DiBenedetto, and I think we'll talk about him.
I don't know, man. I just don't see it.
I know. I think he's a name that's out there.
I think the thing that DiBenedetto has for him is he's got more marketability too.
Sure.
He definitely has that. He's going to bring the popularity with him because he is a popular driver despite the fact that he's run for an underfunded team.
And I was going to bring this up on our next bullet point, but did you see the Mark Martin tweet today?
No, I didn't. I haven't been on Twitter at all today.
Okay, so DiBenedetto did a little had his workout something, and it was the number 6. And Mark Martin tweeted back at him, 6 is a good number, with a fist bump. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of interesting. Interesting. Because that seat's open too.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about that probably in a minute.
That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, that 41 car is an interesting thing. And man, if I was a free agent, I would be doing everything I could to get over there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Truex Jr., I don't know, man. If I was Martin Truex Jr., I would really think about, like, between Haas and Gibbs, it's
close.
I wouldn't have said
know.
that a year ago or 2 years ago, or even
the The thing is, though, is he's already got the relationship with Toyota and everything too.
Yep, and Gibbs.
Yeah, I feel like Gibbs is a more logical choice for him as long as there's a seat there, which it sounds like there is.
Yeah, it sounds like that's happening.
So I didn't put it in the notes, but it sounds like Suarez is more of a free agent than it seemed.
Well, and that's from this article as well.
Yes.
This article was just full of
Right.
But it sounds like Suarez is, because Gene Haas said they've talked to the Suarez camp. So does that mean?
No, I mean, that being said, they could talk to Jimmy Johnson. It doesn't mean that they can sign him. I mean,
yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've got a contract. Contracts can be broken. Ask Kyle Busch.
Oh, sure, yeah. And Gene, Gene could have talked to him in passing, or he could have inquired on what kind of sponsorship Suarez can bring. I just thought that was interesting from the fact of, well, does that mean that Suarez is free to roam? Like, there's no Gibbs deal in place for him. He is on his own, maybe.
I do look at this article with a little bit of skepticism as a journalist.
He's definitely planting seeds.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I respect Dustin Long, who wrote the article, and Dustin is an excellent NASCAR journalist.
Third shout out.
But Gene's he's playing the system here a little bit. He's using the media. He's using NBC to get the word out there.
Yep.
So he's trying to shake things up a little bit with his comments as well. That's why he's not so afraid to throw them out there.
Right.
And Gene's not in the garage every week either, so it's easier for him to light some fires and then let Tony deal with it.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and then Tony will pass it off to somebody else.
Right.
Or it'll be on Zippy's hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gene, you don't make the money that Gene Haas has made in his life being, just being willy nilly.
No.
Everything's a strategy play. He's thinking down the road. Way down the road, further than we can probably even see.
Yeah, definitely.
He can already see it. So
yeah,
it's interesting, man.
So the other piece of the silly season puzzle that fell this week, which was not a surprise to I don't think anybody, Ryan Newman announced he is leaving Richard Childress Racing as well, which provides some more interesting things. In that, is there going to be another driver to that car? And where is Ryan Newman going to end up? Obviously, we talked a lot last week. There's a lot of rumors that he's going to the 6 car and Roush Racing, but I don't know. It's tough to say. There's so many open seats right now, and there's a lot of cards to go around, and it's really interesting.
I know. We talked about how much we love this part of the season last week.
Yeah.
This is our free agency period. This is what, there's something about driver movement that is fascinating, and even Ryan Newman perks the system up.
Well,
now,
and what I find interesting about it too, and I asked you this, James, through text message, but I'm going to ask you on the air here, is so Richard Childress Racing now has Austin Dillon, and he's got an open seat in the 31 car. Does he bring Ty Dillon over and put Ty Dillon in the other car? And is that a bad move for Richard Childress to put his family members in both of his cars?
Should I repeat to you what my response was?
Go for it.
It was a bad move to have Paul Menard and Ryan Newman in that car. There, okay, I got my joke out of the way anyway. No, I mean, if Ty Dillon has said he doesn't want to do it in the past, that doesn't mean things haven't changed.
Right. He's essentially driving an RCR car now.
Yeah, he's not doing anything. I don't know. Now, is Caterpillar sticking with Richard Childress?
I don't know. We haven't heard any word on it.
Because if Caterpillar's with Newman, that's an interesting, where's he going kind of deal. I don't know. Because that could really hurt RCR. They don't have a whole lot of, I don't know. I texted you when I texted back this week. I said I think RCR should go to one car, run the 3, let that be your deal, and try to build a furniture row over there.
Yeah.
Partner with Hendrick or something. Get something aligned and put all your focus in one car, because Austin Dillon's proven. I know he's, kind of lucked into 2 wins. I don't want to not credit him for anything. He's a darn good driver. He's proven it.
Right.
On his way up to the Cup Series. He just needs a stronger car underneath him, and look what he's done with what he's got.
Right.
I just feel like if they put all their eggs in the Austin Dillon basket, it would be more fruitful for that team.
Yeah, I'm concerned about them going all in on the Dillon brothers.
Yeah.
I think that hurts the legitimacy of the team when it's an all family team.
Yep.
To me,
Yep.
that's
I agree
It seems Dale Earnhardt didn't run Dale Earnhardt Incorporated for Dale Jr. He ran
Gary.
other people first, and built the team up, and it wasn't even when Junior stepped in, it still wasn't just Junior. So
it's not like he had Junior and Carey and
right,
Kelly,
exactly,
all of them,
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't see a ton of people clamoring to go to Richard Childress Racing.
I know.
So that could be the
and
tough
that
thing.
team is shrinking.
If he's got the sponsorship, if Cat's staying or whatever, if he's got the sponsorship, then that makes it a more attractive option for somebody. But maybe you've got somebody like Jamie McMurray, or you've got somebody like
Kansas.
Yeah,
Probably
Kenseth.
available too.
Yeah. So although it kind of sounds like Kenseth doesn't want to run a full season, he wants to do a partial season.
Sounds like Kenseth doesn't want to be back at Roush which is so funny because of that bogus press conference that they had with him.
Right.
Back when he signed on. I'm sorry, I'm throwing all these people under the bus tonight. Must be in the mood.
So it's interesting. It's fun. Right now we're in that whole all the cards are falling. It's where are they going to fall? That's what we're going to start finding out here soon. Yep. And as more people step out of seats, there's going to be more options for people to fill seats. So, and honestly, where you're going to start seeing this stuff happen is after Charlotte. After Charlotte, the chips will start falling because you're going to start seeing guys that aren't in the playoffs anymore that are going to start making announcements. Because if you're in the playoff hunt, you're not making an announcement right now because it's just a big distraction. So you're going to wait until you're out of it, and that's when you're going to start hearing. So those end of the rounds are where you're going to start seeing a lot of stuff. So
yeah, and especially if teams start getting eliminated.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot of silly season news that we just haven't had yet, and we've been like itching to find out.
Yeah.
Like what is going on with Johnson?
Yeah.
In the sponsorship.
It sounds like they're pleading with Lowe's to come back in a limited role next year.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, and they're running a couple more throwback schemes. They're running the Power Pride scheme.
Yeah, I love that car, by the way. That looks awesome.
And then they've got another special scheme or a throwback scheme they're going to run as well. So,
yeah, man, yeah, Johnson. I'm shocked that they haven't had sponsorship.
Yeah, I'm not because the way they run.
Yeah.
When you've got last year's champion, you can't get a sponsorship for him. I mean, Johnson's got 7 championships,
True.
but it's not what you did, 6 years ago. It's what you did this year.
And the defending champion can't find sponsorship, and his team is folded underneath him. So yeah, I guess it's not that shocking. It's just shocking that Lowe's has been with them since. I think Lowe's has been with Jimmy Johnson longer than my youngest brother's been alive. So think about that one.
That's crazy. Yeah. It's
I know.
It's been a long partnership.
No, it's nuts. But
all right, let's talk about any other news. Did I miss anything first of all before we talk about Richmond?
No, I think that covered it, man. It was good to have a race that wasn't rain delayed, and we got through a normal week, which was good.
We don't have to worry about rain too much at Vegas. So
what happened at the Brickyard? That was
yeah. James, this weekend is the hold on, I gotta get back to it. What the heck is it? Federated Auto Parts 400 from Richmond Raceway, or what are some of the other names for Richmond?
Yeah, Richmond Raceway, or Virginia State Fairgrounds, or Richmond Fairgrounds, or there's a lot. Racer Reference has them all listed.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
We've had a lot of names for Richmond. We got a new one again this year, and it's. So I told you to remind me of my prediction. So here's my prediction this week. Richmond has been a hype fest for several years because of being the last race going into the playoffs and being a short track. And it has failed to generate the excitement that they've wanted it to. I think this new spot and the way this season is building, I think that is completely different this year. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to have some people mad at each other after this race. I think you're going to have some contact in this race. I think you're talking Martinsville last year in the playoffs level excitement leaving this race. That's my prediction.
Yeah, and it's set up that way with Hamlin being last in points. That just oozes potential for controversy because he could be desperate.
Yep.
And if he gets bumped out of the way or something, if Chase Elliott, Chase Elliott gets him again or something, oh boy, it could be good.
All right, you've just convinced me. I hit the first pick this week, and I'm going to pick Denny Hamlin as my pick.
Oh.
Because did I take your pick?
No, you're okay.
Okay. I'm going to take Denny. There's absolutely nothing that leads me to believe that this will actually happen because Denny just hasn't been Denny this year. But if he's going to get a win at a track, you got to think it's going to be Richmond. And he's run well here. He's won 3 times, has an average finish of 9.3. And Denny's just the type of guy that you'd be like, you just write him off after the first week and say there's no way he doesn't have a shot. And then he comes back and wins the next week. So yeah. I guess for Denny Hamlin coming into, after a disaster like last week for him, coming into Richmond is the best possible scenario for him.
Yeah,
so
it's put up or shut up time for Denny Hamlin.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In his career, does he want to be remembered as an all-time great, or is he just going to be satisfied with what he's got? Like, he's had moments where he could have been a champion, and once again he's backed up against the wall. So he's eventually, there's going to come a time where he's going to have to answer the bell because he's running out of time. He's not a spring chicken.
So my prediction
anymore
for Denny is he wins this weekend, or he eliminates himself in the playoffs this weekend.
Yeah, I like that.
He's either going to win or he's going to screw up or have a bad day and just have a crappy day all around to where he'd have to win Charlotte to get in.
Right.
That's my thought on what's going to happen, but I'll pick him to win. So, James, who do you got for Richmond?
I'm going to go a little off the board, but not really.
Okay.
I'm going to pick last year's defending race winner, Larson.
See, you're happy I went with Denny Hamlin then, because I was going to go Larson as well. So
yeah.
Larson was my second pick.
Yeah, it's time, man.
Yeah.
He's been good. Get that win. Get the monkey off the back. Let's go.
Yeah, he's been close. I mean, he finished second again this week. He's right there.
Second place finishes this year.
Yep.
He's been so last year was a year he got the breaks. One Michigan last year when he shouldn't have. Things like that, and now it's like he's got to get it done.
Yeah.
If he wants to have a shot at this championship, he's got to win. I like his odds. I like his chances.
I agree. Who's your dark horse?
Ooh. I'm gonna go William Byron.
Dang, I was thinking about
He's only got one race there, but it was a good one. 12th place finish.
All right, I am going to then go with the easier pick of dark horse, and I'm going to go Daniel Suarez, which I believe is my dark horse pick in the spring as well.
Yeah, he's good there.
Yeah, Suarez is good here. He's running JGR car. JGR is good here, and so if Daniel's going to get himself a win, this might just be the place to do it.
All right.
So there you go. James, we're actually ahead of time this week. Like, we're under an hour. Maybe we should stretch this out for another 20 or 30
I think our
minutes.
listeners would probably be very happy to know that they're going to give him a little break.
Yeah, right? I did want to mention one other thing that I forgot to mention in the news, and I don't have an article to go with it, but Bubba Wallace called fans out a little bit on Twitter this week. A lot of people criticizing. In fact, we did it on the podcast last week, or I did anyway, giving Richard Petty Motorsports a hard time about the brakes. So they had a brake issue again this weekend at Las Vegas, and Bubba came on to say, listen, yes, we've had brake issues. They've been 3 separate issues. It is not the team. Don't blame the team, et cetera, et cetera. So good on Bubba to go out there and defend the team.
Yeah, I like that too. That was good.
Yep. So
I mean, that's kind of one of your roles as a driver, and the great ones do it. Yep. They are leaders.
Yep.
So that shows leadership out of Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, I like that commitment from Bubba. You can tell he's proud of where he's at. He's grateful for the opportunity. It's a good relationship there for him. So that's cool. And Bubba's a good guy. He's always having a good time. I love seeing him at the track. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he's had some some hard accidents. He's had definitely a rookie year.
Yeah.
But not the rookie year from hell. I mean,
right.
he's had some good things happen.
Yep.
Would like to see some more forward momentum, but I love the leadership. I love when guys take they step up, and that's what he did for his team there. That's
Definitely.
awesome.
Yep, very cool. James, if they want to find you during the week on social media, how do they find you?
At James on Twitter.
Say that again. Skype cut out on you. They don't want you to know.
No, Skype, don't do that to me. It is at James Cush on Twitter.
Much better, much better. You can find me at T Super Speedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/The Super Speedway. You can find us on the web at thesuperspeedway.com. You'll find show notes there, past articles from different races, things we've covered, as well as all the podcasts and show notes and all that stuff. So find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. And if you like what we're doing, want to become a part of it and support us, become a patron at www.patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. Anything else, James? I think I got it all.
I think we're trying to set a world speed record here.
We
I
are.
think that's good.
We are. I think I think we did some half-hour ones back in the day, though, so we aren't quite there. But
Well, we used to try. Remember, we tried to split them.
yeah,
We would do like halvesies.
yeah, and then we'd end up with 2 hours in one night.
Yeah, it just didn't work.
All right. Well, let's head on out of here then. We will check out Richmond this weekend. We'll be back next week to discuss that and preview the Roval next week, and can't wait for that. So lots of excitement coming. It's been a great season so far. Until then, let me turn the volume down so I don't blow your ears out. Until then, let's go racing.